but there's lots of ways to do it. And I should also mention that the state of Minnesota was the first state in the country back in 1998 to implement an organic certification cost share. So certification currently on average costs around $900 a year for an average Minnesota farm. Organic farm average is about 360 acres. So it's not small. So that scale farm. Now, if you're market garden, you wanted to get certified, it'd still be between $300 and $500 a year to pay to get certified. Well, I thought that was kind of crazy because I had taken pesticide applicator training, and it was $25, and it was a 3-year license to spray toxic materials. But yet organic farmers were paying $300 to $500 each year to show they're taking care of the land, and producing a healthy product, and that's their regulatory cost. And so I and a few others worked with the legislature and got a cost share so that once a farmer gets certified, you get a rebate on that certification fee. And we're pretty cheap in Minnesota. The best we could do was 2/3 of the cost up to $200 per year. And that was on the books until last year. We got it raised to $300 with our generous legislature. But in 2002, worked with former Senator Paul Wellstone, and I got it in the 2002 Farm Bill as a federal program, and that's a better deal. It's 3/4 the cost, up to $500, but they didn't appropriate enough money, and it ran out of money after 2.5 years. So we are back to the state program, but it's in the Farm Bill, it's in the House, the Senate, and even the White House version, supporting it to have it be 3/4 up to $750 now. So hopefully they'll get the Farm Bill, and we can have a good, solid, organic certification cost share. But that is after you get certified that then you qualify. You just have to show your certificate, show your check, what you paid, and Meg Moynihan, Department of Ag, sends you a check as a reimbursement, either from state funds or federal funds when those are available. But in the U.S., we don't have any program nationwide to help conventional farmers or beginning farmers convert to organic production. Every country in Europe has an incentive program since 1992. If you want to go organic, you have a transition incentive to help you make that switch, because it is. It's a new system. You may not have the right tools. You certainly, don't have the experience, the sense of timing, the knowledge, know the markets. So there's quite a shift to make. And oftentimes the yields drop during transition because your soil is not healthy. It's been abused. You got to revitalize the soil, get those cover crops and all that in there. And so the Farm Bill drafts in both House and Senate, they have differences in it, but would for the first time ever create a national conversion incentive program to help farmers make that transition. But there's quite a few countries in Europe that are around 10% of their agriculture is organic now. There's over 40,000 organic farms just in Italy, and there's about 12 to 15 in this country. So we got a long ways to go. Yeah.
I'm just curious. I was involved in the food co-op movement in the 70s, and I'm wondering if you, I don't know how old you are, but when you first started this, what kind of changes have you seen? I remember going to one of the first organic meetings, conferences, state of Minnesota, sometime in the 70s.
Uh-huh.
How things are changing and how farmers are responding maybe differently. I mean, I know back then it was like, it wasn't worth it. It wasn't going to make any difference.
Yeah. Well,
trends.
Yeah, and I've been around a while in the organic scene. And yeah, there have been dramatic changes.
So why?
Why?
Yeah.
Well,
What are the farmers saying?
Yeah, I was just going to talk about that because I mentioned maybe it was before you got here, I was an organic inspector for 20 years, so I've gone to a lot of organic farms, and I always like to ask, why you go organic? There's nothing in the standards, there's no right answer, but the motivations, and it used to be three very strong motivators. Personal safety. Their dad died of cancer, they lost some animals from pesticide poisoning, or kids down the road with birth defects. I mean, it was really a personal issue. Very strong motivator. People don't realize that. Fundamental spirituality. It's the way God intended us to be stewards of the earth. There's a real strong motivator there amongst the farming community. And then the back to the land movement. And you can't underestimate the influence and impact, and especially of having the regulations and the bureaucracy of the anarchists have created here. I mean, a lot of this system comes from people in the back to the land movement to have the infrastructure there. Now, there's many more people that have entered organic because it's where the money is. It makes more money. It's profitable. So that's much stronger motivator now than it was 20 years ago, I would say. And especially there have been a lot of dairy farms that have switched over, and now dairy prices are high, but it wasn't long ago they were low, and they'll be low again. But the organic price of milk is very stable. It's only gone up. It's around $23 to $26 a hundredweight, which conventional milk usually is around $12 a 100 pounds. Right now it's high at 16 or 17. But the organic is much more stable and has been increasing over time. But the thing that I found in my inspection work of dairy and livestock operations is once the farmers switched, their vet bills just dropped, and the herd health increased dramatically. It was quite dramatic. The animals would breed back. They wouldn't have the abortions, hoof problems. They're just living much longer, getting more lactations. Organic farmers end up selling replacement animals because they don't need that many heifers. Whereas conventional farmers burn out their animals a lot sooner and are always bringing in replacement heifers. So it's a very different dynamic there. But anyway, I don't know if that answered your question, but but I've definitely seen a lot of changes. But I think also now just having the federal regulation there's been a lot more big corporate investment because they like a regulation. They like to know what the rules of the game are. So there's been a lot more money come into organic, especially buying up existing organic brands. So you might have heard like Cascadian Farm or Muir Glen. Those are a couple long-time organic brands, but they're owned by General Mills. And I don't have it on this show, but I've got this chart that shows who owns who, and it's quite consolidated in the organic sector at the corporate brands, the kind of stuff you'd find on the shelves at Walmart and Target or Hy-Vee. Those aren't local products. They're multinational. They're owned by someone that's not even on that label oftentimes. But it looks like some friendly, small-scale company, but it's really owned by a multinational these days. Yeah.
Is there a list of organic producers like in this area?
Yeah, on the back table there's a Minnesota Directory of Organic Farmers, and it's broken down by county, so you can look up for Freeborn County who's here. That was last year's copy, and Meg said that this year's is just going to the printer. She hopefully will have it at the conference next week. And that was... And both of them are voluntary, where it's not a complete listing. There's about 580 certified organic farms in Minnesota, but people had to voluntarily put their name in, so only a little over 200 were listed there. Because a lot of like dairy farmers, they're not looking for buyers. They got the milk truck comes, they're not looking for somebody, so they wouldn't be listed typically. But yeah, there's that, and that is on their MDA's website too.
So there's 500 now about?
Yeah.
And 20 years ago, how many do you think?
I don't know. Not near that many. We're, I think, 5th in the country in both numbers and acres of organic production. California's first, Washington State, very high, and Wisconsin. And then Iowa and Minnesota are about equal, tied for 4th and 5th, back and forth. North Dakota has more acres because they're huge farms out there. Even the organic are, thousands of acres of organic wheat or things like that.
I wonder if I could mention two sites to go with that. The other two sites is localharvest.org is a good site to find all sorts of organic producers and retailers all over the country.
And direct sales.
Also, there's another university site that's growing. There's a little more data on the northern areas, but it's called localfoods.umn.edu.
So cool.
I think. I'm hoping that's coming out of the regional partnership work. And those can supplement the grown.
Yeah, and to get an online version of the Department of Ag's directory, their website's hard to find. The best is to start off here, go to the links, and then you'll see the Department of Ag and just click on it, and you'll go to the organic page of the Minnesota Department of Ag. But if you try and go to Minnesota Department of Ag and find it, it can take a while.